had gone through the ranks of being marketing assistant, assistant brand manager, and all of those things, decided that it was time for me to fly. I've always been one who wanted to determine my own destiny. And, you know, it was important that I had had a very good grounding and base at Unilever, but I felt confident enough to now go open my own consultancy. Now, where this is significant, and there's a lesson in that, is that this was 1984 in South Africa. So it was in the height of apartheid in 1984. We didn't have BEE, we didn't have affirmative action, we had nothing. And so here was this 29-year-old black woman leaving a very secure, I think my mother cried for, because she was saying, you know, I'm so proud of you, you're a manager at Unilever and you want to give it all and just go set up a business. But I was just so determined because I could see a future for myself that I had determined for myself. But the benefit of being in that time zone was that I was a curious entity to the media, because everybody wondered how mad this person has to be to think that a black woman in apartheid South Africa could set up a strategy consulting company and have the corporates as her clients. But, and again I say this because it's one of the lessons that I want you to take away, I have never considered my gender, I've never considered my color, I've taken those for granted. They are who I am, and they are my business and nobody else's business. So I never left Unilever and thought, oh, I wonder how they're going to take the fact that I'm black. I just knew that I was bloody good at marketing because I'd been trained by the best. I knew that I had the requisite degree and qualifications. I knew that I had been taught presentation skills, and I could stand in front of a board of people. You know, after all, even my own interview as a 21-year-old, 22-year-old student had been with their board of directors. And so I'd gone through an interview where I had to sit through a panel of people who were directors of Unilever. I'd gone through an interview which required, it was a 3-day interview, which required me to interface with peers in a group session, and we didn't know it then, but they were watching us through a one-way mirror to see how you take leadership, how you take control of situations, how you actually help to guide the group in solving the problems. And so I'd had all of that preparation within Unilever, which gave me the absolute confidence to go out and do what needed to be done. Of course, the media were curious, so the stories were written. You know, every week I was, you know, there was a story about me and my consultancy. And that, of course, helped with the publicity. I had free publicity. I didn't have to pay for it. People were curious. You know, and what I would do is every time you've had an article, while the press is still hot is when you make the cold calls to people. What I was getting at, aren't you the young lady I was reading about yesterday? And so while it was hot news, I created these environments. So, you know, and also coming from an organization where you had done well, you had performed well, I had my own former company actually recommending me to other companies. And so the lesson in building bridges, and Maurice knows I'm all about building bridges and I'm all about building networks, because if you are an alliance builder and you have strong networks, the sky's the limit. And if you leave an organization without burning bridges, making sure that you still have friends. I left Nedbank in 2006 or 5, but I can still call anyone at Nedbank. And if there's something they could do for me, they will do it. And I really bring you back to the issue of networking and influence, because it played a huge role in my ability to then get into the BEE space and do deals. Because many people will tell you there are hundreds and thousands of groups that were set up from 94 to date of people saying, I'm going into BEE, and some of them eventually had to close down. Because how you get the deals is the ability to get into the right decision-making areas. Now, I started off being the go-to person, and people would call me and say, I know you know the Anglo people, and I think, oh yeah, I can open that door for them. And then one day you wake up and say, when am I going to use this network to my own benefit? But because the network had been built where you were working with people who are in influential places, but, and this is a huge but, they knew that you performed when you were on the board. They knew that you added value, because what they're looking for is a partner who can add value. That once we do the deal with you, if we're selling the 10%, why should we not sell it to Maurice if you're just going to be the pretty face? And so we were not coming in to say, we are a women's group and the BEE Act says women's group. We said, this is how we can add value to your company. And so I set up Ayavuna again to empower women, because I had seen that a lot of women had not had the platform that I had had in terms of being able to phone the chairman of an organization, whether it's Anglo or Barloworld. When we did the Barloworld deal, because I wasn't on the board then, I joined the board after we had done the deal. But I was able to call Warren Klulo because he'd been my chairman at Nedbank when I was deputy chairman after Chris Liebenberg left. So you see how joining these boards is actually increasing your sphere of influence in the networks. I was able to say to Warren, I don't know what your plans are for BEE, but can I come and talk to you and tell you about our group?